He holds a pint of beer, so you think he is. You think he's one of you. Yeah. Do you ever think Nigel Farage has been in working class estate after 7 p.m. in his life, other than for a photo shoot? He don't give a shit about you. That's how I see it now, and unfortunately, telling that truth upsets people.
There's a reason why there is that absolute desperation, though, to silence Tommy Robinson, to silence him at any cost, because since his release from HMP Woodhill, he is becoming increasingly political, increasingly vocal, but the difference from before is that his message is now being picked up across the population as the Overton window shifts politically, but also independent media starts to take over, with YouTube now revealed to be the second biggest broadcaster in the United Kingdom behind the British bashing corporation, overtaking woke ITV. And this is just the beginning of a change in how we communicate, folks. And before his attack, Tommy Robinson sat down on the London Real interview show where he made clear that he had tried to make a truce with Reform UK and Nigel Farage, but that truce has now ended because this is a political party where if you speak about Islam, you will be kicked out. Watch. Big news. Outspoken is now available as a podcast too. So please do subscribe wherever you get yours, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and make sure you rate and review. I'll take 5 stars, if you may.
Will you ever be part of a political party?
I'd rather not. I would have hoped and I wished that Reform would be the political party for the people. In fact, I tried to make a truce multiple times.
With Nigel?
With Nigel. And on stage, I tried to just say, listen, Nigel has continually lied about me to the public. In fact, when I was in jail on solitary confinement, he went on TV and said, I've got convictions for violence against women. He just made it up. So I don't understand it.
Why?
Well, I look at, so what happened with Nigel? So Marie Le Pen's just been banned from standing. You saw this?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they used the fact that she made money when she had her members of European Parliament in Europe and used it for her domestic things. That's why they went for her criminally. From what I understand, Nigel done the same. Yeah? And he was investigated in 2019. Well, that investigation was quashed and went away. And according to people close to Nigel, because I spoke to all of them now, yeah, so he was under investigation and it was went, which seems a bit sus anyway, yeah? And since then, Nigel now, you've got Fraser Nelson, you've got all the left are now propping him up as the next Prime Minister. It's like he's been chosen by the establishment. And he's took the establishment line on everything. Right. On Islam, he won't talk about Islam, never has. In fact, he's given his chairman position to Zia Youssef, a Muslim. And then what's he done since then? He said Shamina Begum wants to come back. Then what's he said? That we need to prepare for the Islamic demographic majority. This is his words. By 2050, we can't alienate Islam because they're going to become so dominant. Well, Nigel, we need to stop that shit. Yeah? Let's not hold up the white flag. I want a leader that's going to stop it. And then people make the excuse, oh, he's just trying to get into power. He's trying to get in power by filling his party with the same establishment figures that betrayed us for the last 20 years.
Right.
So I get frustrated and I wish Nigel was the solution. And I tried to make peace. And I wish, when Nigel came out and said that he's not bothered about the demographic replacement in this country, which means he's not bothered that white English people will become a minority in England. Well, I am. And so are the vast majority of this country. And what we saw in the polling this week is that majority of people who also understand Islam needs stopping. Yeah, and someone needs to challenge it. Right now, Reform will kick you out of their party if you speak about Islam.
And then Tommy revealed his most personally strident anti-Nigel commentary yet, saying that he is no different to the establishment, saying quite specifically that he believes Nigel will sell out the working classes, and putting a direct message to his supporters that Nigel Farage doesn't give a shit about you. Watch.
Because the establishment don't want to deal with this. Yeah? They want to hide from it. They're not going to deal with it. The same establishment that covered up the grooming gangs. Why did Rupert Lowe get kicked out of Reform? According to him, because he was talking about the rape gangs, Pakistani rape gangs. So Nigel is crushing down on the establishment thing. So people won't like hearing it because people think Reform is the solution. Unfortunately, no, it's not. Nigel's going to be no different. He's going to sell you out. Is Nigel working class? He went to some posh private school. He holds a pint of beer, so you think he is. You think he's one of you. Yeah. Do you ever think Nigel Farage has been in working class estate after 7 p.m. in his life, other than for a photo shoot? He don't give a shit about you. That's how I see it now. And unfortunately, telling that truth upsets people. And I wish it wasn't that case. I wish Nigel would have been the populist voice that Britain needs. Because it's all primed for him. The country's ready for it. Yeah. But as the country's ready for it, in steps the establishment, and they take control of it. They know now, no one's going to vote for Labour, no one's going to vote for Conservative. Along come Reform and Nigel Farage. What's he going to do? Oh, he's going to stop the boats. Well, the boats ain't the only problem, are they? In fact, Reform's policy at the start of the election was 1 in, 1 out. Well, 500,000 Brits left last year. 500,000. So they're going to get 500,000 rid of Brits, and what, 500,000 Africans are coming in, are they? That was their policy. That's Reform. They changed like the wind. What does Nigel even believe? At least you know what we believe. So I think that Rupert Lowe, I saw what happened with Rupert Lowe. I think that he's become a strong voice. I've looked at Ben Habib, Advance, lots of the people who were kicked out for their free speech. There is no free speech. How can you have a political party that want to govern this country like Reform when they have they don't believe in free speech? They don't believe in free speech. Nigel doesn't. In fact, he's got NDAs and agreements that anyone who steps in is not allowed to mention my name. They can't have Reform councillors that say anything positive about me. What? You're a dictatorship, bruv. That's not free speech. So yeah, enough about Nigel Farage anyway. Nigel, I want an apology for making up your bullshit about violence against women. Or at some point I will be finding you with a camera.
Okay, so to the superstar panel. Wow, Ezra Levant, this is a change. This is certainly Tommy upping the political rhetoric. He had, at the last election, endorsed Reform UK. Even when I saw him at HMP Woodhill in December, he was trying to make peace with Nigel Farage. His message was, Nigel, just stop attacking me. But clearly now, he has felt differently. He feels like Nigel is not a viable option. What do you make of it?
Well, I want to be careful about weighing in too deeply on this because I'm not a British citizen. And in the end, this is for British voters, not for me. From an outsider's point of view, I think Tommy is a man of the movement. He's an ideas man, a communicator. He's in the trenches. For example, on the rape gangs story, he has met with countless victims and produced documentaries. So that's a very important role. Very different from Nigel Farage's role. But look, you can't lie. The polls don't lie. The council elections don't lie. Reform UK is on the march. So I want to, as an outsider, express that I think both men have an important role here. Tommy is, I think, one standard deviation tougher on these issues. He's more engrossed with them. Nigel is a politician. He doesn't deny it. Only one of those men, has a chance of becoming prime minister. And for all his flaws, and you may disagree with me on this, Dan, and I hope I'm not overstepping, but I think Nigel is the only chance for a prime minister who would stop the boats, freeze immigration. And I know he's been waffling on mass deportations, but I think Nigel makes mistakes and then always sort of strengthens up when the grassroots show him the way. So I want to try and admire both men for what they do. And there's a saying, don't make the perfect the enemy of the good. And I think both Tommy and Nigel can take from that message. I mean, Tommy is not built for elected politics. He's an activist. Nigel is a politician, but both have their important roles. That's my view, Dan, and forgive me if I'm off base as a Canadian looking in from the outside.
No, I think that's really fascinating, actually, and I'll bring Father Calvin Robertson in, who will have very strong views on that, and thank you for being with us, Ezra. I guess just before I come to you, Calvin, as an example of why maybe Nigel is not going where we need to go, World by Wolf had posted saying, where's the deportations plan? Copying in Zia Youssef, the head of Doge at Reform UK. You promised on the 26th of April that it would be published in May. We're now approaching August. The Tories have published a deportations bill. Even the knuckleheads of Reform HQ should be able to put together a 5 to 10 pager within 3 months. And Rael Braverman, who is the husband of the former Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, added, and remember he quit Reform very recently, added, where is the deportation plan? This is a very important question, even though I don't agree with the knuckleheads comment. So, Father Calvin, I guess the argument is, does Nigel Farage really care about making the tough decisions here?
I think Nigel Farage cares about Nigel Farage, unfortunately. Ezra's right in that he is a politician, but that's the problem. We need someone that isn't now. We've had enough of career politicians. We've had enough of ambitious individuals who just want to be a part of the establishment, want to be a member of the elite. Nigel Farage is one of those, unfortunately. We all know him. We all know what he's like. He doesn't go far enough either. So even if he did care, which I don't believe he does, but even if he did, we need someone who can say, actually, We've had enough immigration now. The country is full. In fact, it's beyond full. We need mass deportation. We need repatriation. Controlling the borders is about more than just stopping the illegal immigrants. Nigel Farage is pro-immigration. We need a prime minister who is anti-immigration. We need someone who could say the things that Tommy just said in that clip, that actually, yes, it is a bad thing if England is no longer English. It's a bad thing if a predominantly white country is no longer predominantly white. And someone who's not afraid to say those things because they're accused of being racist or xenophobic or whatever. Like, we need someone who has the kahunas to take the country where it needs to go. We're in dire straits. It's make or break time for the whole of the West right now. We need a wild card. The reason America is doing so well is because Donald Trump was a wild card. He wasn't just another. And we've had so many just anothers. We voted for the Labour Party until we got sick of them. We vote for the Conservative Party until we get sick of them. If we vote for reform, we'll have more of the same until we get sick of them. We need someone different, someone willing and able with the political capital to change things and turn our country back around to make Britain great again.
Yeah, because by the way, we are in such a bad state. And unfortunately, sometimes maybe when you're close to the problem, you just don't get it. So Trump on Air Force One last night was told by Bev Turner of GB News, who's doing a great job, that there are actually people in jail in the United Kingdom for social media posts. His response is fascinating to watch. But first, in today's digital world, your online freedom and safety have never been more under threat, whether it's state overreach, tracking by big tech, or cyber criminals lurking on public Wi-Fi. Indeed, in the UK, just this week, we've now seen many popular sites and important content, even my news reporting here on Outspoken, even important speeches in the House of Commons, censored entirely because of the government's so-called new Online Safety Act. You will have heard, I'm sure, in this discussion, lots of people saying you need to get a VPN to protect yourself and still access all your favorite content. Well, guess what? I have the perfect solution. It's Surfshark, by far the world's best VPN that protects your identity and secures your data. But the great thing is Surfshark is actually so much more than a VPN, and you can go to surfshark.com/outspoken for an extra 4 months of Surfshark to secure your data, protect your freedom, and support Outspoken at the same time. Now look at this. Surfshark's Clean Web feature blocks ads, trackers, malware, and phishing links so you can browse safely without being spied on. And it makes the experience so much easier and more pleasant too. Need to access certain apps or websites without VPN interference, like your banking app, for example? Well, Surfshark's bypasser feature handles that with ease. And if your VPN connection ever drops, Surfshark's kill switch immediately disconnects your device from the internet, keeping your data safe at all times. Plus, with dynamic multi-hop, you can route your connection through 2 different countries at once, doubling your encryption and making tracking nearly impossible. This also means you can freely switch beyond your favorite country lock shows with the click of a button. So you can be watching effectively your favorite TV shows or sport from anywhere in the world, wherever you are. There are other benefits of Surfshark too. You can use it on unlimited devices, meaning your entire household can stay safe with just one subscription. And with over 3,200 servers in over 100 countries, there is a world of choice at your fingertips. And I know for lots of you, this will be your first time using a VPN, but the great news is that Surfshark offers you 24/7 customer service. So go to surfshark.com/outspoken for an extra 4 months of Surfshark. And what's more, this is really important. Surfshark is so confident it's the best VPN in the world. Trust me, it is. I use it every single day, that you can give it a try for a full 30 days. And if you're not entirely satisfied, you will get your money back. So go to surfshark.com/outspoken or use the code OUTSPOKEN at checkout to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. But now, back to the show.
He ever go to prison for a social media post?
Are you saying that that's taking place in the UK?
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hearing that. Well, I looked at it yesterday. Well, they said they canceled Truth Social. I'll bet it's uncanceled very quickly. I'll bet it's uncanceled. Yeah. No, it's a little different. It's different. I see it in some countries that you would never suspect it. Not only there. I've seen it in other countries where, they're like bread and pudding countries, I think, and then all of a sudden they become somewhat violent. When people go socialistic, or when you get the radical left or the left going in, the country's actually become very mean. They become two things, mean and incompetently run simultaneously.
And I mean, my goodness, he's so right. And what's really interesting is there is, I guess, some type of unity now in the United Kingdom. And a lot of this was sparked, and I'm very proud to say it was started here on Outspoken with the case of Lucy Connelly and the huge outrage that has grown. So we heard Tommy Robinson say yesterday that Lucy Connelly will actually emerge from prison as one of the most popular people in the United Kingdom. And Alison Pearson, who took this story from us in the independent media and made it go just huge at the Daily Telegraph, has written a brilliant column on this. And I just want to share it with you. She writes, "They tried to break Lucy Connelly, but the decent people of Britain will never desert her. A year on from the Southport massacre, the childminder who dared to express her anger over immigration is still in jail." But she added, what is interesting, I think, is to consider how Lucy Connelly's tweet was uncannily prophetic. The national temper has not cooled since Southport. On the contrary, Britain is angrier than I have ever known it. Parents, grandparents, and concerned residents are gathering outside migrant hotels from Bournemouth to Norwich, expressing their anger at the threat posed to women and children by undocumented young males from backward, misogynistic cultures. Exactly the point Lucy made to police on the day of her arrest. Alison Pearson added, "Yesterday I spoke to Orla Minahani, mother of 3 teenagers and a Reform UK council candidate who gave a magnificent impromptu speech in Epping, saying that the protesters were not far right, as the media and the authorities like to allege. It was a peaceful demonstration by normal British people who have had enough and were going to protect their kids come what may. Lucy will be a national hero when she gets out," Orla Minhani told me. "And this is why our government fears her. One ordinary woman, a bereaved mother herself, enraged by the massacre of little girls, has acquired a force because she articulated the furious anguish of millions and had to be punished for it." And then Alison Pearson puts forward an intriguing, delicious proposition. What if Lucy Connelly were to run against Yvette Cooper at the next general election and the patriotic people of West Yorkshire chose to vote to protect British children and showed what they think of a Labour government that is allowing our country to be invaded so there is no Britain anymore? Don't rule it out. We know it now, don't we? This is our last stand. And Dave Marshall, such powerful words there from Alison Pearson. And I do wonder how, from a policing point of view, British forces can continue to justify the total control of social media, the desire to prosecute, to send people to jail for tweets. Now this elite squad has been set up specifically to go after social media when we know that there are violent crimes on a daily basis that are ignored.
I was a police officer for over 30 years, Dan, and if you told me when I first put a police uniform on that we would be locking people up for expressing their honestly held beliefs and opinions, I would have laughed in your face. But the reality is that is where the country is at the moment. And all the while, serious, violent crime is on the up. Acquisitive crime, shoplifting, antisocial behaviour, all these things are on the rise. And yet, our police chiefs, who are, let's be honest, as ideologically captured as they can be by this stuff, are prioritising social media posts and investigating those who post things that go against the establishment narrative on X and elsewhere, and dedicating resources to policing the internet before they clear up the absolute mess that's been created with years of neglect in dealing with real crime, real violent crime.
Because what we've seen, Dave, is when there is real crime, very often it's failed to be tackled. And we got a shocking example of that last year, didn't we, with the Manchester airport attack, where these two brothers, Mohammed Fayer Amars, aged 20, from Rochdale, and his brother Muhammad Ahmad, aged 28, were accused of this violent crime at Manchester Airport against police. But do you remember when it first emerged, all of the sympathy was with these two thugs. All of the sympathy from the political establishment, from the mainstream media. We even had Yvette Cooper and Paul Wall, Labour MPs, say, you know, that the police had got this wrong. Well, today in court, and I find it astonishing that only one of these brothers has been found guilty, but one of the brothers has been found guilty in court today. There will be a retrial, we have just learned, for the other brother. And I will talk about this much more tomorrow, actually. But I just wanted to remind people of some of my coverage from Outspoken at the time, which you weren't getting from the mainstream media, which was so astonishing when you actually saw the full videos here. And we know one of these brothers is guilty. So we can say that one of these brothers is a guilty thug who attacked a police officer. And do you remember that the mainstream media went along with this narrative that they were the victims? Watch. Now, you've got to remember the grift that was involved in their case. Do you remember when their ridiculous first lawyer, Ahmed Yaqub, claimed that one of his clients had been the victim of an assassination attempt?
The family are okay, but they are traumatized. Mohammed Fahir, his medical condition has worsened since last night. A CT scan has revealed there is a cyst on his brain. So please pray for his well-being. Right now, the main concern for us, for me, is that the family receive justice and this no longer happens again.
Then the MSM lapped up this press conference with their new lawyer trying to present them as victims. So Dave Marshall, even though obviously I'm highly critical of so much of the police behaviour, the problem is then we get a case where the police are literally beaten to a pulp, a couple of those policewomen, by these thugs, one of whom is now convicted, guilty, the other of whom will be retried. So I guess we have to be slightly careful about him. What happened? The whole political establishment turned against them. The whole mainstream media turned against them. So yes, we can criticise the police, and as we do, because they get so much wrong. But then they are literally physically attacked by thugs who happen to be Muslim, and no one gives a damn. So you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
Yeah, it's a complete inversion of reality. I mean, the way that this particular situation was reported by mainstream media and some of our political establishment beggared belief. And I remember commenting on this at the time, and there's shades of the Tommy Robinson incident and this, that be very careful not to judge what you see in the space of a 20-second or 30-second grainy video clip. And I was really disappointed that even some serving senior police officers were jumping to conclusions on the basis of that clip of the Manchester incident that showed the officer use that what was described as excessive force. And I'm not condoning that, and I'm not condoning violence. But if we remember what happened post Southport and the speed at which people were arrested and prosecuted, most of them for minor public order offences or posting things on social media, they were swiftly arrested, taken through the courts and put in prison. And Lucy Connelly was just one of those people. Why has this taken over a year for an actual violent offence, an attack on police officers? Why has it taken over a year to get to the point where this goes to court and goes before a jury and receives this outcome? The priorities in this country are all wrong, Dan.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source. and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.